عيدة كان رايدين حضر دي فانيا شحال ما دار حال فرجنا فري فواناسه معايا تفواتي جورا على باب الناس هنا راح الفرنا فري أنت بكون حالا حتى تاجي حالا حتى تنو بعد ما رتريو تيم موقتي كونيا شيء موقع شيء مرونة شيء بيجينا رجيري خليانا بعدين قولي مارة سوري مارة بيجون سوري مارة دسينا تسا بيجينا قولي مارة سوري مارة يقول تو قولي ما ماجي ناماتيا نغير روانجا نغير عارا ماري بعدين راك ماري خلاي تا أيوه هذا تورا هذا أيوه هذا gaya itara dajjan military ase itara kangori nara no dikir abad dere tura uda hera arar bati sajjandu esh hamada anako gura baya hodo bu arike magu oy ba ma faazia hana baya lazan cinta kori banna in arati gaite ga tar ga to mana na dash tamata to hona na 5 minute lagta to na banwa da to na
It was called a cleansing operation. In the summer of 2017, the Burmese army laid waste to the western province of Rakhine, formerly Arakan. Nearly 500 villages were burnt. An entire population fled to the forests and hills. The Rohingya people. They are Muslims, unwanted in a mainly Buddhist country. After days on foot, the survivors reached the border. On the opposite bank, Bangladesh.
Jiar bashe go thagi yatoro nor tuaina bhai dadi made ara pura dia made ara mikyo gi goi bamma mikyo ara bammar tuaina bhai fuai tuaina bhai eda halo mada de rasta made fuanchen mara hoichi ede phode gade manush hada siria bad mara fura ede gurusol insan ede begu manush hada siria bad ede kesune fura dia nila pura manush kolore
The repression left thousands dead in Rakhine, the province where the Rohingya people used to live. Most of them fled Burma, their own country. Bangladesh has taken in 700,000 refugees.
The situation remains a textbook example of ethnic cleansing. Can anyone rule out that elements of genocide may be present?
Genocide. International law has yet to decide. But many academics and diplomats are defending their cause. However, there is no doubt that the events were premeditated.
That requires decisions by people in power. That requires time and resources to plan.
Was it premeditated? Nothing in Myanmar happens without a plan. There's always a master plan.
The operation to drive out the Rohingya must have been prepared, organized.
The authorities were arming hostile, non-Rohingya ethnic communities who surrounded. They were being trained to kill.
There were groups of monks touring the country to explain to school children the problems of Islam.
For years in Myanmar, the scent of genocide has hung in the air. But racism doesn't explain everything. Who was to gain from this crime against humanity? Here in Bangladesh, we're at the largest refugee camp in the world. The Rohingya all tell the same story, the same violence, the same methods. One name has become synonymous with crimes against humanity: Tula Toli. Far from their homeland, the survivors in this village tell their stories. They describe a well-oiled machine.
आरा फारा मादे गोले बिना आटा बाजे तখন गोले बादे मुआरा दोन तो उत्तो फारा से दिन मादे माने गुलियो मारे तारा होते मारे उनको गोले लारा जाएगे
पूरा दर गुली मारे तारा के मुझे फुआवा लो सरो जुलाई मिगा सरो जुलाई निला हाला हंडा लगे मुसलमी सासे अंदर तौल दर बोते कि बोझा था कि मिलिट्री सारो रात गिरी
अस्तर मारा माजे किसु फुरियो जारगई किसु दुंगरी दाया जारगई इंदिलम गरीब तावासम मानुष खेदा दलागुरी गलाई गुलगुरी दलागुरी तारपर की गजदे माया होन पासना गरी गलाई
बगुन दलोगी दला तो ये दरम डान गरी गरी बेड़ांदर आगतो बेड़ांदर मारे खरा बेड़ाई
तारा होते न गुतंगुते गातोर बा लारा हाल जाबदी हरा आरा सार हजार हाल जाबदी आरा वाइट टमारे को हारे की इतारा खें गरे खीकी न गरे आरा ओडा तो हाल रोकुले साइते की बाद गुली मारे टान गुली फुड़ेरी मानी होय फुड़ावान तारा साइते की आरा ते मानी की आरा गुजर हां दे वाला तो गशोड़ा वाशारा वाला या फोइलर फुआरो ता हां दे साइते की
डाना गुली मारे बेड़ानी मारी जाता था या बेड़ा सा कोई माजो भी हो 2 বছর যা 3 বছর যা ফোন হালত বাই দে খুঁড়ি ফেলে বা হাড়ি ফেলে বাই যাতে দি ফেলে
আননে গরু তোর আননে তোর গুলি আর বাজা ফুয়াগার লয় টাল নলা দি ফেলে
যাতে ফোন ইলা ফোন বাই দিও ya বেড়ানি হাইতা যাতে তো ya বেড়ে বুয়াগরা এদিন তো 5 জন হাজার লই গই
গরু ভিতরে গলায় এর দুয়ার তারা বানি সারা চোখ তো কাটতেন বানি ফেলাই বাঁধি ওরে গইছি বুড়া করে রেক গইছে বুড়া গইছে নারারে হুন্ডিলা গইছে হইতে পারতাছে না আর
সুর মারেন গুরুর বাজে ফেলে তারপরে আর তিন বাতি মারি যাই তিন বাচ্চা বাতি মারি তিন বাচ্চা বাদি তারা দরজা বাঁধি নেই লোক আবার ওই দেশের মধ্যে আতর শেষ হয়ে গিয়ে আল্লাহ আবার মারি ফেলাবো চোখ কাড়ি থাকি আবার মারি ফেলাবো হয় গড় ফুরি আর গাতাও নেই এবার ও আল্লাহ ফুরি যাই বোধ হয় আম্বুরে নেড়ে নেলি দুনিয়ায় নো দেখি সাপ করে দুনিয়া দেখি দেয়া তো কাল নো দেখি আগে ডর লাগে তো মতরে আমার মাঝে 5 মিনিট লাগতে ডর লাগে মতরে
Men and women separated. Children massacred. Systematic rape. They used the same methods in most of the villages. This footage was taken a few hours after the mass killing at Tula Toli, a little further downriver. The massacres left hundreds dead in a village that was home to 1,500 Rohingya Muslims. Matthew Smith heads an NGO that defends human rights in Asia. He's investigating violence suffered by the Rohingyas.
We documented upwards of 11,000 soldiers from 27 battalions that were operational during these attacks. That requires decisions by people in power. That requires time and resources to plan. So all of these aspects certainly speak to a genocidal intent.
The eyewitness accounts of the survivors are unanimous. The soldiers weren't alone.
Military fún àti àṣírí ní bògúnà gọrọ fúra díẹ̀ tún yà sọ yògbé àyàn gì fún àti yà tó tún দুজন তিনজন লয়ের অর্ডার যদি মাইলে ইন সার ফাস্ট তাছে মিলিটারি আর কোনো জায়গায় ঘর তো ইন্দারা তো ইন্দিরা মুন তো ফোন ফেলে ওন টাল মেলাদের মানুষ ফালি মেলাদের তারা তো আরে না পারে না পক সুরি মারের জরা দি ফেলের তো হারা হন স্যার নিলারি তো মিলিটারি অর্ডার দিয়ে দেন নিন করতে
Civilians and soldiers hand in hand. In these images filmed by a Burmese soldier, an officer in combat gear is addressing some Buddhist villagers. The officer then reveals the Burmese army's plans.
He was essentially describing what the military ended up doing, which was attacking Rohingya villages, in some cases blocking them from fleeing and then massacring them, and in other cases just driving them out towards Bangladesh. The soldiers encouraging the civilians to themselves take up arms. And we ended up seeing this ended up taking place. Villagers were armed with farming equipment, with long swords, with knives, in some cases with firearms, and they flanked Myanmar army soldiers and police. One eyewitness described it to us after watching some of these trainings, described it to us as they were being trained to kill. It looked like they were being trained to kill, he said to us.
Arming civilians, creating a militia to attack an ethnic group, is a war crime. It's a crime against humanity. In the ransacked village of Tula Toli, one man was the link between the army and the militia. Aung Kyo Singh, a Buddhist. Appointed as the administrator of the Rohingya village by the government just before the repression. The survivors are unanimous. He was the man chiefly responsible for the massacres. He was also their neighbor.
Itiara 14 din 2 din बाद 14 da military lo je fati lo je बाद तोरा मारी फेलायु तोरा ना यार मानु नराकी मारी फेलायु मिला गुरी हो
माने भाई करे जाय दे दे निले आरार मुसलमान जाय बय फाने जानि तार माथा डेमा को मजा आरा आदिना फारि देन ना होदु मानु मरि गे देन ना आरा फारा माजे निले निले बो हरय ने हाड़ा हाड़ी मार मारे बो हरय ने ना तोरा सरज जोगय तोरा सरज जाय बगुन दला गुरता हो गय तार मिलिटारी अकल करी हरे मिलिटारी अकल जाय रे डंगटर करा सिदि तुआंगर के फुरा दि फिलिबो दि तार फुरा दि तार किन तार जायबो तोरा बारगर गलगे हारिबा इते जदि आ तांगन जाराय नदि तो आरा मुसलमान सरी जागे फातताम ना फातताम दूर जागे फातना जे जिक्के जागे फातताम इते जाना जो आरा जोरिया एक बारे दो माने लसानगे
Aung Kyo Singh was once close to the Rohingya people. But a year before the repression, he began to threaten them. His childhood friend explains.
इधर उकड़ा हम दिए थे मानी मुसलमान मारे फैले वाले वो इधर फला मानी तेरा उकड़ा हम दिए थे तो लोग उकड़ा हम नदी तो इतना नंबर दिए थे निजे लेकिन ना था इन्हें ले बेगुन आगरा से माने आरे बो आरे बादशाह अभी बेगुन किसी के मारा इधर आरे शुरू में या सभी मलाने मैंने मोबाइल ले तो मोटी नल्ला या इसी फैक्ट्री माने फोगला इसी फैक्ट्री इधर साइड आ रहा बात है व्यक्ति या
Ramzan kept his old friend's phone number. He calls him regularly to try to understand.
यार इसे गुरी गाँव होना दो
The man is in hiding, fearing reprisals. We have also contacted him several times. He never agrees to answer our questions. In the last few years, one man has played a central role in changing mindsets. Starting in 2012, when he was released from prison, this monk has been touring the country to convince the poor of the dangers of Islam. A holy man turned politician. U Wirathu has harnessed the anti-Rohingya hatred inherited from the colonial era. During the Second World War, just prior to independence, the Muslim minority supported the British. Many Burmese Buddhists never forgave them. We met the monk at the height of his fame. The racist preacher was then protected and financed by the generals in power. U Wirathu exploited his popularity to have mixed-faith marriages prohibited.
Okay. Perfect. Come here. The collusion, massacre, so the song go now. I do like that. I who cook I many are better than a day home. The Muslim Myanmar, you believe Myanmar movie. Louis to Romy, Uzeno Lumuta, Louis Talon, Talon Dino, the IS party, loaded on me.
Little by little, the radical monk saw his influence growing. His words were prophetic.
So yeah, and then I down Jivida, the Rohingya, so I'm she wins so vida. Now deluded co and la load Provida. I did the road, Togada Gama Tame, the Tadia Nangania, Logi and Bobby me Provida. So yeah, Bagaro, peace on.
Driving the Rohingya Muslims out of Burma, the country where they had lived for centuries. That day, the monk revealed the general's plans, years before any action was taken. It was also at this time that one British-based academic went to southern Rakhine.
There were media reports about the problems with Muslims, the reports about Muslims raping Buddhists, making the front pages of the media. There were groups of monks touring the country to explain to school children the problems of Islam.
A specialist in state crimes, he quickly became convinced that an act of genocide was imminent.
This is part of a stigmatization stage of genocide. You problematize another group. They're still accepted, they're still part of society, but you point to them and you say, look what they do. There's something wrong with them. And that is the first stage in genocide.
The hatred soon turned from words into actions. Led by radical monks and accompanied by the police, the Buddhists attacked Muslim villages. It was the first act of a tragedy that would last 5 years. In June 2012, 120,000 Rohingya Muslims were driven from their villages and forced into camps. The south of Rakhine province had been cleansed.
It is very strong to use Kristallnacht to compare Rakhine State to Nazi Germany, but it was clear to us that the violence of June 2012 was not communal violence as the Burmese military and NLD government would like us to believe. It was highly organized, and it was organized in the way that Kristallnacht was organized. It had a purpose. Rakhine Buddhist villages from all around Sittwe were sent letters in advance. They had people ready to be bussed down into Sittwe on the day and days of the violence. People were fed, transported for free, and directed what to do. You go burn down the village and drive the Rohingya that way. You make sure they can't get out that way, that they end up in the camp complex. Highly organized. I was completely shocked by the level to which the genocide process had gone on and to how clear it was. We had the local politicians telling me that we should open concentration camps, using that term in English, concentration camps.
Little by little, the Rohingya lost their last remaining rights. They could no longer study, seek healthcare, or even travel. Those not imprisoned in camps were confined to their villages and harassed daily. But after years of persecution, an armed movement was born in Rakhine. ARSA, the Arakan Rohingya Salvation Army. The only images of this mysterious guerrilla army are these propaganda films. Without uniforms and under-equipped, ARSA attacked Burmese police stations in the summer of 2017. The powder keg had been lit.
When August 25th came around and Rohingya militants attacked and killed a handful of Myanmar officials, the authorities essentially activated what appeared to be a very well-planned operation.
The massive repression of the Rohingya minority led to the Burmese army being accused of crimes against humanity. Rakhine Province, Myanmar. The region is off limits to journalists. Since 2017, humanitarian organizations have also been banned. It is a territory devoid of outside witnesses. To defend itself against accusations of genocide, the Burmese government invited a handful of journalists. Our movements were heavily controlled. We take the only road leading north, to where the Rohingyas lived before the exodus. Everywhere, military camps and forts had taken the place of burnt villages, the ruins of which were barely visible.
Slow down, please.
But stopping was out of the question. Each time we passed one, the car sped up. We pass what used to be the Rohingya gardens, where only the charred stumps of palm trees remain. The driver has seen it all. But he has been warned. He has only one word to say. Kalars. Wogs. The term used by the region's Buddhists to describe the Rohingyas. As soon as we arrived in the northern capital of Rakhine, we were taken to a press conference.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
A propaganda lesson delivered by the governor and a handful of officials in the finest hall in town. Ethnic cleansing, revised and corrected. The accusations of crimes against humanity are brushed aside by the mayor.
Genocide.
They've managed to kill 22,000, in my estimates, Rohingya and drive up to 1 million out of the country without any repercussions. And they've managed to convince the people that this is all fake news, that this never happened, that the Rohingya burnt their own houses and left on their own accord. After the genocide, it's the last stage. It's about denial. It's about rewriting history. It's about understanding what happened in another way as part of the new national story.
But there's no getting away from the facts. When this photo was published in the press, these men were presented as terrorists by the Burmese government. They are, in fact, ordinary villagers, executed by soldiers and militiamen. Just 10 victims among thousands more. Their village is sadly infamous. It's one of the symbols of the repression. At Indin, the satellite photos don't lie. When the Burmese army surrounded the village, all the Rohingya houses were burnt down. They were razed to the ground and replaced by a military camp. No trace remains. But in Indin, 10% of the population were Buddhist. Their houses are intact. You can see the military buildings from the road. And the Buddhist quarter further on. We're allowed to stay for 15 minutes. A villager agrees to talk to us, but a man comes over to listen to our conversation. Since the massacres, the village has been under surveillance. Everyone repeats the official version. The man in the poncho is still watching us.
Oh, hey man.
Go.
No one saw anything, and everyone is watching me.
What do you want?
This man is the new mayor of Indin. His predecessor was transferred to the other side of the country, along with all the officials involved in the violence. We get nothing more. We look for the place where the 10 Rohingya people were killed. In this photo, taken a few moments before they were killed, one structure is clearly identifiable. At the edge of the village, we find the building in the photo. But as soon as we go near, we're warned off.
What? Okay, sorry. Yeah, we go.
We have to leave the scene of the crime under a barrage of insults. To find out what really happened in Indin, to understand the reasons behind this ethnic cleansing, we need to cross the border and go back to Bangladesh. The answer lies in the camp where the families of these 10 victims now live. This man was one of the victims. Abdul Malik was the village imam. His brother takes us to meet his wife. Mariam and her children saw nearly everything. They are some of the few people to have witnessed the arrest. Hatred doesn't explain everything. We show the survivors the photos of their former Buddhist neighbors we met in Indin.
Emash Goda, Gorbandia Vajum Mutun, Hyderguna Gatita, Natalago. Itarikata Tundiria, Hozonarikata Tundi, Gorabaka higher.
Were the Natala involved in the violence? The photo of the 10 victims provides the answer. The man recognizes a Buddhist settler from the next village. He's armed. He's one of the executioners. The Buddhist colonization of Rohingya land started in 1990. What has happened since the exodus? The convoy heads to northern Rakhine. There are lorries everywhere. The road is still being built. But whole villages have appeared, only 1 year after the Rohingyas fled. Prefabricated houses that the government has given to Buddhists coming from other parts of the country. These colonial villages are the proof. The Rohingyas' land did not stay empty for long. Moving from statements to condemnation, the international community is increasingly taking a stand and denouncing the crimes against the Rohingya. But justice takes time. In the corridors of the Palace of Nations, one woman is once again preparing to defend the Rohingyas' cause. Since 2014, Yangi Lee has been the Special Rapporteur for Human Rights in Myanmar.
Oh, there's no water provided on the podium anymore. No, I'll go get some. Thank you. I think she's coming. Yeah. Mr. President, distinguished representatives, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to once again to address you and present you my report to this council on the situation of human rights in Myanmar. Are we, the international community, going to tell Bangladesh they must continue their generosity indefinitely for a crisis that was caused in Myanmar? Are we going to tell the Rohingya refugees that they are going to have to endure the situation indefinitely? The answer to the above questions must be unequivocally no. I implore you to stop the talking and start the doing. I thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Sorry, is it time for justice now for Rohingya people?
Yes, of course. It's been delayed long, and yet, as you know, justice delayed is justice denied. Yeah. The high-level, the generals who really did the ordering of the atrocity crimes, they must be tried, and as well as the others too. We need to move. Please note that exceptionally.
Who are the others to whom the diplomat refers? Given her knowledge of the workings of the Myanmar political machinery, at the start of her mandate, Yangi Lee regularly met the Nobel Peace Prize winner Aung San Suu Kyi. In 2015, The lady from Yangon refused to express an opinion on the Rohingya question. We had been able to meet her briefly during her election campaign.
I think the human rights situation of Rohingya is respected.
I don't quite understand what you mean.
Yes. What do you think of the situation of Rohingyas?
Well, it's very complex. It's not something that you can answer en passant, I suppose.
Once appointed Prime Minister, her position became clear. It was that of the military with whom she shared power. Yang Li and the Nobel Peace Prize winner had been close for years. For the first time, the South Korean diplomat revealed what was said during their last meeting.
I would have a tete-a-tete, very private meeting, and I would raise many issues. And we had a very good rapport. We talked, she asked about my mother, about how my father is doing. We talked about family. When I met her in her first, right after she was elected, used the word Rohingya, and she said, "Oh no, we don't use the word Rohingya." And I told her, "No, I can't use something else. In principle, I am going to use the word Rohingya."
Despite having a mandate from the United Nations, the diplomat was only able to visit the province of Rakhine once.
When I saw her in 2017, she was very bitter about the UN. And I asked her, I need more access to different areas. And in July, she said to me, if you continue this narrative of the Western world, you may not get any access.
Three days later, Aung San Suu Kyi asked Myanmar's parliament to withdraw the diplomat's accreditation. Yang Li was forced to leave Myanmar.
Aung San Suu Kyi had built up a lot of political capital over the years. She is a Nobel Peace Prize winner, and she used this capital to provide cover for the military to carry out their operations. Every time the international community came in and said, look, we have reports, we have evidence, they were, frankly, bamboozled by Aung San Suu Kyi, using her capital she'd built up over the years to provide cover for the military to carry out a genocidal campaign. This is complicity in genocide, and Aung San Suu Kyi should be investigated for complicity in genocide.
If Aung San Suu Kyi's image has been tarnished by the Rohingya crisis, the people who caused the chaos in Rakhine are using it to their advantage. After 50 years of dictatorship, in 2011, Myanmar started moving towards democracy. A transfer of power from the military to civilians. But in fact, the opposite happened. The generals still have a hold on power.
Who is going to benefit from the destruction of the Rohingya, from their annihilation, the genocide? The military need a way of explaining to the Burmese people why they still need such a huge military at all. Democracy has arrived, so the question is, do we need a militarized country? So the military are creating problems like the Rohingya so that the country will rally around the military as their defenders. They've remained in power, they're in complete control of the country. Their strategy was a success.
This trick didn't only work in the generals' favour on a political level, it could also line their pockets.
We know Rakhine State is resource rich, so we know that the military are going to want to get their teeth into the resources that are there.
It shouldn't have been one of the poorest states in Myanmar. We have some evidence, some reports that there in central Rakhine there is uranium, there is nickel, there is all those, what we call it, precious sand. That is official government secret, it's almost, where you have no access to any information. There's no data. And so to have access to those resources, you can't have people living there.
Having driven out the undesirables, Myanmar claims to be ready to welcome them back. At least that's the official line, adopted under international pressure. The authorities take us to the border, to the bridge over which hundreds of thousands of Rohingya are meant to cross on their return.
Okay, we got 3 minutes.
Sorry?
3 minutes, 3 minutes. This is taking the photo only.
Why are we here?
Yeah, they are making the car road and to accept those people from the other side.
The Myanmar authorities promised to house the Rohingya in this empty camp. The camps are guarded by the same brigades which drove them from their villages. Inside, officials are waiting for candidates. The scene is carefully staged.
Every day.
Many of them came back?
In 6 months, only 2 families are said to have returned. Holding this card is a condition of their return. If they accept it, the Rohingya renounce their Burmese nationality. They all refuse. Threats by way of welcome.
Everybody will take it to you.
The last part of the visit. A camp on the border in Myanmar. These Rohingyas chose to stay in their country. Myanmar has imprisoned them behind barbed wire. How is it possible to believe 1 million exiles will return? Or to trust the promises of a country which tortured them.
What is going to happen next for the Rohingya? Can Bangladesh absorb them into their society? What does that mean for the Rohingya as a culture? The genocide is continuing, it's going on as we speak. So people have to ask the question, how do we get the Rohingya home and how do we rekindle their culture? How do we get people back together? And if we don't do it, the genocide's continuing. So every day that nothing is done is the world continuing the genocide of the Rohingya.
With no guarantees for their safety, with no recognition of their identity, the Rohingya don't want to return to their land. One of the most persecuted minorities in the world is waiting for justice.